A very good morning, friends. In this video, I'm going to discuss today's most important article that was published in Economic Times. So the article title is "It's Not What It Looks Like," and this is written by Pranab, Dhal, Samanta. So before I really go into the analysis part of this article, I would like to give you the outline of this video and what is the format that has been followed throughout the video. So first, I will discuss the context behind this article, and second, I will discuss the vocabulary part, that what difficult words I were able to find in this article and that are actually important for the exam as well. And lastly, I will discuss the whole analysis of this article. Okay, so starting with the context part. So from last couple of days, we are seeing a lot of articles about CAA, that is the Citizenship Amendment Act, and those articles usually talks about it, whether this act is following the basic tenet of our constitution, that whether this article is secular or not. But this article totally looks into the different dynamics of this article, and it basically focuses that how it's going to affect our diplomatic relationships with our other countries and at the whole global level at front. So this is the whole context behind this article. So now coming on to the vocabulary part, I am able to find 16 words that I think are very important and were relevant about these articles to know about. So first is improvisation. So improvisation means to invent something or to make up something without planning for it. Second is rekindle. Rekindle means to revive something. And third is wrecked, which means an unhappy state. Fourth is embracing. Embracing means to accept enthusiastically or willingly something. Afoot means preparing something or progressing in something. Repellent means to fill something. Dogged, which means to show tenacity about something or show the perseverance against something. Fourth is dogged, which means to show tenacity about something or show persistence. Eighth is inclement, which means an unpleasant weather. Ninth is augur, which means a sign of whether a good or a bad outcome. 10th is acrimony, which means full of anger. 11th is vernet, which means to show great respect about something or to revere something or somebody. 12th is solidarity, which means to unite. 13th is resonance, which means a deep quality about something. 14th is backlash. Backlash is when a majority show negative response about something. 15th is rapport, which means showing a harmonious relationship basically. 16th is ordeal. Ordeal means a very unpleasant experience. So this was all 16 words about the vocabulary. Now coming on to the not final part, there is also one thing I come across while reading this article, and there is this terminology called West Link policy. So let us discuss what this West Link policy is and why it was implemented. So basically, it was an attempt to strengthen India's tie with the Western neighbors, especially the Persian Gulf countries. So this was the Modi government's initiative to complement his Act East policy, which was concerning about the East Asia part. So though its name is Link West, but it majorly focuses on the Middle East part. So this was the uh, Link West policy, and it is later has been discussed also in the article as well. So now coming on to the main analysis part. So the author describes the three tenets of the Modi government that they have followed with regarding to our foreign policy. First is strong global image. Second is effective big power diplomacy, and third and last is neighborhood first approach. So, but he says that after the implementation of the CAA, that is the Citizenship Amendment Act, all these parameters have come under stress and are posing serious challenge to the government. He says that the impact of this was felt even as bill was being debated, compelling improvisations and changes in contain the diplomatic changes. This include gradual linking of CAA from NRC, that is the National Register of Citizens. So how did all this played out? So he's saying that before even the bill has actually passed or being debated in the both the houses, of the parliament, there were some changes going on about the diplomatic damages that was they were thinking that are inevitable. And a few of the change was that they were talking about the delinking the CA and NRC, but we also know that they are not. They are complementing to each other. So how all these changes has been actually played out for them. So he'd give our latest example that how it has actually affected our government in a negative way. He says that the biggest immediate letdown from a global image perspective was the cancellation of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit. This was no ordinary visit, one repelled with political symbolism anchored in India's northeast, right next to China's zone of influence in East Asia. In fact, it was worked out in a way that Abe undertakes the India visit before he heads for China later this month. So he says that we have actually faced a hit at the global level by seeing that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has recently cancelled visit to come India, and he's saying that it was not an ordinary visit for us, but it was actually it is actually going to be a political symbolism because they are going to come to the uh, not just visit India, but they are actually going to visit the northeast part of the India, north east part of the India, which is right next to the China's zone of influence. So it was actually a big visit for us. And later he says that, and that it emerges was just a part of a larger message. The Battle of Red Hill, locally known as Lokpa Cheng for the control of Imphal, Manipur, is among the well-known historic conflict of the Second World War. It was fought between the Japanese Imperial Army and the British Indian Army. Indians fought on both sides of this ragged battle that consumed thousands of soldiers. On the one hand was the Azad Hind Force of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose fighting alongside the Japanese, and at the other end were Indian soldiers from Maratha, Baluch, and Gorkha regiments. Both fought a dog battle, bravery heavy, rain, and inclement weather. So he's saying that again it this visit of Shinzo Abe was not an ordinary day, not an ordinary visit, and it was supposed to send a larger message. And he says that the Battle of Hill, or the locally known as Lokpa Cheng, which was fought for the control of Imphal or the Manipur, well-known historic conflict that was happened in Second World War, and it was a fight fought between the British Indian Army and the Japanese Indian Army, and in this battle, Indians fought from both the sides because Azad Hind Fauj was fighting alongside the Japanese, and this force was led by the Subhash Chandra Bose, and Indian was fighting also from the British Indian Army side, and from British side there were Marathas, Baluchas, and Gorkha regiments. So there were Indians on both the sides. So he says that plans were afoot for Abe to visit this historic site with PM Narendra Modi by his side. It was meant to be a big symbolic political message, sort of a rekindle of the spirit that informed Netaji's friendship with Japan, one which augured well with BJP's effort to reclaim Netaji's political legacy. So again he's saying the same thing, and he's saying that it was supposed to be a big political, supposed to send a big political uh, message and a sort of a rekindle our old friendship that we used to have with the Japan because of our association with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Because already BJP is also trying to reclaim Netaji's political legacy, and we can use that thing and leverage that to gain friendship with the Japan now. So it supposed to send a very big symbolical political message. He says that later he explains that from Abey's perspective, it was also a big political message back home that he was embracing Japan's troubled World War II past. And this a time without the acrimony caused by his visit to the Yasukuni Shrine. It venerates Japan's 2.5 million war heroes, including those killed in World War II in 2013 when China, Korea, and several Southeast Asia countries protested. This is a reminder of China's brutal aggression during the war. So it was not only important for the Indians or the India, but it was also important for the Shinzo Abe as well, because he won by coming here and embracing this historical place and the soldier that were fighting from their side. So by embracing their struggle, he was trying to embrace the struggle that was made by the Japanese soldier during this fight, and he was doing this thing when other South Asian countries, including China and Korea, when they were actually protesting against it by reminding them that the Japan caused the brutal aggression during the war. So again, he is saying that Imphal visit was not just an important visit, but it was also supposed to send a subtle but powerful message to the China as well. But the CAA protest has put an abrupt end to the what was a carefully crafted effort. So he again says that. So he later goes on to explain that it would be wrong to assume that the government wasn't expecting a backlash from the liberal constituency in the West. This was clear from the experience of dealing with the aftermath of the withdrawal of Article 370 from the Jammu and Kashmir, and to a lesser extent, the Supreme Court order on clearing the way for the construction of a Ram temple in Ayodhya. So he is saying that it would be wrong for us for saying that government wouldn't have actually expected this backlash. So, and it was very clear that after the aftermath of withdrawal of Article 370 from the Jammu and Kashmir and Supreme Court orders in the favor of BJP for the construction of Ram Temple in the Ayodhya. So it was a very expected thing that government would have also expected this kind of backlash. He says that the worry for India would be if the Islamic states and the liberal West would were to find common cause in global bodies. The CAA NRC linkage could potentially have provided that platform, especially in the backdrop of the changes in Jammu and Kashmir. The government was quick enough to realize this danger, which is why perhaps Home Minister Amit Shah, who spoke of implementing countrywide NRC in the Lok Sabha, dropped any reference to this in the Rajya Sabha. But he is saying that the worry for India would actually start if the Islamic countries and the liberal West would collaborate and would collaborate at the global level. And he says that this linkage of CAA and NRC could actually provide that platform for them. And he's saying that even government realizing this, and that is why Amit Shah actually discuss and outspoken about the implementation of a countrywide NRC in the Lok Sabha, but he dropped any reference in the Rajya Sabha. Similarly, he says in the neighborhood, the challenge for India would be to dissociate current friendly regimes in Bangladesh and Afghanistan for the religious persecution of minority as referred to in the CAA. So we know that we are currently having a very friendly relationship with the both Bangladesh and Afghanistan because there are a lot of infrastructure facilities that we have provided to Afghanistan and Bangladesh as well, and a lot of foreign students also come in India to study from Afghanistan, and so we have a lot of friendly or you can say harmonious relationship with these countries. So, but he is saying that currently we have to dissociate with these countries as far as the friendliness is concerned, because we are subtly or you can say that explicitly discriminating on the basis of religion. So that is why he says that this explains the Home Minister's positive reference to the Bangladesh founder Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in both his Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha speeches, he specifically sought to make the point that matters deteriorated after Sheikh Mujib's death and have strongly improved under the present regime in Dhaka. So he is saying that even Amisha actually give a positive reference about the Bangladesh founder. And he says that at his time things were great, but after his death started deteriorating and relations started getting worse. In the present regime of Dhaka, things have improved. Yet he later goes to explain that. He says, yet the Sheikh Hasina's government decided to defer the visits of its ministers ostensibly due to other reasons, which only underlines the sensitivity involved and the potential Islamic political backlash it may trigger within the country. So, on one side, Mr. Shah is saying that we, in the present regime of Dhaka, our relations have improved, but on the other hand, Sheikh Hasina's government are actually deferring the visits of its minister. So, there is a tension. He says that there is no doubt that the CAA, along with Article 370 decision and the Ayodhya temple order, have recast India's foreign policy priorities. So obviously, it is true that after the implementation of all these three, CAA, then revocation of Article 370, and construction of Ayodhya temple, these have actually recasted India's foreign policy priorities. And he says that if after Article 370, India reaps the benefit of goodwill New Delhi has built among Islamic countries and other big powers, then the evolving situation around CAA is a reminder of its limit. So he is saying that the benefit that we have actually uh, got from the Islamic countries after the revocating Article 370 and actually welcome the whole Jammu and Kashmir to actually being the bigger part of India. But there is a limit to it. He's saying that. He says that PM Modi must be credited for building a strong rapport with Gulf countries through his link based policy, which I have discussed earlier. He says that India's relationship with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Oman, and other countries in the region are on a strong footing. Turkey in the West and Malaysia in the East Asia are the only two prominent Islamic countries who have spoken out against India on Kashmir. So he's saying that we must give credit to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi for building a good relationship with the Gulf countries by the implementation of this Link West policy. And he's saying that India is on a good relationship with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Oman, and other countries. But he says that there are only two countries, prominent Islamic countries. First is Qatar, which is in West, and Malaysia in East Asia, which have actually spoken against India on the matter of revocation of Article 370 of Kashmir. He says that on the other hand, countries like UAE and Bahrain have honored Modi with awards. The economic relationship with these countries has flourished over the years, and Pakistan's concerns have found lesser attention. New Delhi would like to keep it that way, which is why a massive diplomatic effort will be needed in the coming days to not just control reactions but also obtain his endorsement to India's argument that the CA is a one-time humanitarian gesture. This line is important. India is a one-time humanitarian gesture which is not anti-Bangladesh, not anti-Afghanistan, and not anti-Hindu. So he's saying that there are a lot of Middle East countries like UAE and Bahrain which have actually given award to the Modi. I don't know actually what award Bahrain gave, but I know what UAE gave was it was maybe order of Zaidi, which was given by UAE to Modi. And he's saying that we are actually in a good relationship, not just a friendly relationship, you can say, but at the economic relationship. If we see these economic relationship are also flourishing between us and them. And he's saying that New Delhi also would like to keep it that way. And but to keep it that way in a future, we have to a lot of diplomatic of efforts in this area. And we not and in the coming years and in the coming days, we will not only have to just control the reaction that is been causing by the implementation of these policies, but also to give a message at the global level and show them that CAA is just a one-time humanitarian gesture, and we actually want to give the citizenship to the countries that to the people who has been persecuted in the neighboring countries. And it is not anti-Bangladesh or anti-Afghanistan or anti-Muslim, but it is author's view. But I think it is discriminatory and it is kind of an anti. So I let you guys think that whether it is actually kind of a discriminatory against these countries or not. And finally he says that this is a tough diplomatic ordeal now, largely because all this heavy lifting has been done at a time when India's biggest leverage, its economy, is relatively weak and under scrutiny. In other words, what's clear is that India's diplomatic have been completely reordered for the time being. So he's saying that obviously at a diplomatic front it is there are going to be a few bad days in front, and he's saying that but lot of things have been happened and will have been passed. But he's saying that this has happened at a time when India's biggest leverage, its economy, is weak. You might be aware about that. A recent data has been published about the GDP, and the GDP has reached its all-time low of 4.5%. So these all structural changes are happening when we know about this our whole economy is coming down. So he's saying that if we keep these things for aside, there are going to be a lot of economic. So he's saying that if we keep the economy aside for 1 second, he's saying that our diplomatic priorities have completely reordered for the time being. So this was the whole article. Now I am signing off.